Mad Men is one of my favorite shows I've ever watched. It has an amazing story, great character development, and I love seeing a show get so popular that was related to design and advertising. If you haven't seen Mad Men, it follows Don Draper, a creative director working at this advertising agency on Madison Avenue in New York in the 60s. Throughout the show, Don deals with his personal struggles, the changing of the times, stiff competition in the ad world, all while coming up with these great spur-of-the-moment ideas.
Lucky Strikes is toasted. Well, gentlemen, I don't think I have to tell you what you just witnessed here.
And yeah, Don Draper may lean more to the sell, capitalism-driven world of advertising.
You're not an artist, Peggy. You solve problems.
But there's a lot to be learned from his creative marketing, ideas, and the show overall. So in this video, I'm going to be breaking down 10 ideas graphic designers can learn from Mad Men. So I just want to preface this by saying I read this article by Creative Block that was written in 2014 that inspired this video. So shout out to their original team of writers. Let's get into it. Number 1, don't rely on one source of income. Throughout the show, Don Draper and the rest of his agency at Sterling Cooper has an array of different clients from all kinds of sectors of the world. However, their big cash cow is the cigarette company Lucky Strike. This definitely shows what kind of world we were living in then, when the biggest client of a top advertising agency is a company that sells cigarettes. So what's the problem with having this giant client? Well, nothing really at face value. However, they relied too much on it for the split of their revenue. Roger Sterling is this top guy at the agency who's always trying to please Lucky Strike, and I kind of get it, because at one point Lucky Strike brought the agency Sterling Cooper $24 million, and then all the other clients combined were only bringing in $20.2 million. So that's over 50% of their income. When you rely that much on one client or one project, they have a lot of the power in the situation, and it can be disastrous once they leave. Inevitably, they could not please this demanding client, and Lucky Strike bounced.
We're dead. You know that.
I tried to apply this lesson to my design career and my business as a whole and not rely on one source of income. The way I'm able to diversify my company is working on multiple clients throughout the year, this YouTube channel, brand deals that may come through this YouTube channel, the Patreon, as well as consulting. And now if you don't do YouTube but other things like that, there's plenty of other ways you can diversify, like selling prints, selling assets, or just creating any kind of content online. Number 2, make your own path. Don Draper literally got his start at the agency while working at a suit shop when Roger Sterling, the head partner, came in, and Don somehow swindled his way in to getting an interview.
I'd do anything to buy you a drink and hear anything you have to say.
It's 10 a.m.
And yeah, Don kind of has a more obvious rag to riches type of story and character development, but another character who made his own path was Harry Crane. Harry Crane was a not so important member of the agency until he carved out his own niche by becoming the head of the TV department.
I think that we should have a television department. All the other agencies have them, and I think I should run it.
You are now the head of the television department, which is comprised solely of you. Anything else?
At the beginning of the show, TV is not so important because it's the 60s and print media still runs the game. However, by season 6, Harry is bringing in more than anyone else at the entire agency just because he carved out his own niche. I think I've done this in my own career by not only communicating my value as a designer, but carving out my own lane as a content creator in this whole design space. As a freelancer or even an employee, no one's going to advocate for you better than yourself. The reality is, you are competing against a seemingly infinite amount of creatives out there in the world, so you got to make sure you do a good job of separating yourself from the competition. You can do this by niching down to a specific type of client, having a specialty in the design world, or just having some kind of unique value that separates you from being just another designer for the job to the designer for the job. Number 3, put in the hours. Don't get me wrong, work-life balance is important, but to really get good at something, inevitably, you have to put in the work. I mean, they say it takes 10,000 hours to get really great at something. So the faster you get to that 10,000 hour mark, the longer you can create great work. The creative team at Sterling Cooper does lean a lot more towards the kind of toxic grind culture of the work environment. I'd be lying if it didn't pay off on creating some awesome last minute campaigns.
There may be chaos at home, but there's family supper at Burger Chef.
For myself, working as a freelance graphic designer, it has many advantages, but at the end of the day, it's still work. I try to be grateful for the opportunity that I get to do what I love every day, and it helps ease the pain of those late night revisions or constantly emailing clients back and forth. You don't have to work yourself to death either, but just be consistent and find a schedule that works for you. Showing up every day, even if it's for just a couple of hours, will have exponential returns. Number 4, polish your presentation. As a designer, it's crucial for you to do amazing work, but not only that, you have to be able to speak about the work and present the ideas in an effective way to the client. A good methodology and presentation can elevate a good design to a great design. And a bad presentation can also mean 2 more rounds of revisions. No one wants that.
You can't keep getting away with it!
Peggy Olson, the character who worked her way all the way up from being a secretary to the lead copywriter, has a big shot in the show for a presentation with Cool Whip.
Ooh, let me have some of that Cool Whip.
However, she messed up the slogan and honestly the entire presentation, and it kind of just went to shit.
So it's a dessert then?
Just try it already. Just taste it.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
That's the thing too. Peggy had the skills. She was one of the most talented people at the firm, but at times she would crack under the pressure or get distracted by trying to impress Don rather than the client. So not only do you have to create your best work as a designer, but arguably more important, you have to be able to talk about your work. Number 5, evolve with the times. Throughout the show, Don Draper is this advertising savant who comes up with the greatest ideas last minute and delivers some of the coldest lines in the show.
I feel bad for you.
I don't think about you at all.
However, as he starts to drink more and more and problems in his personal life arise, his ideas start to become outdated and just overall kind of bad.
Eat life by the bowlful. Little kid, big bowl, big spoon.
As we approach the late 60s and 70s, world becomes more open, experimental, and just overall progressive, and Don's more conservative approach isn't really flying anymore. As creatives, we have to evolve with the times, and designers are no exception. If we weren't evolving, we'd still be creating websites with HTML and CSS and using some kind of archaic design software. Obviously, there's some caveats. I'm not suggesting you put all your energy into speculative technology like AI or NFTs, but it's important to be open to new ideas and experiment with new things. Some of my favorite ideas have been birthed from constantly taking in new inspiration and experimenting with new techniques and ideas that I haven't tried in the past. So I think it's just good to keep an open mind in the design world. Number 6, separate your work from your life. Similar to the last one, Don is super smooth and always delivers despite his rough upbringing and chaotic life. However, the pressure starts to get to Don, and during this pitch with Hershey's, he dumps all this childhood trauma on the client, simultaneously shitting on advertising, and it overall just creates a very vulnerable but strange moment for everyone involved.
Feeling like a normal kid. It's sweet on the package. It was the only sweet thing in my life.
The saddest part about the situation is the advertising world is so dishonest and just overall a facade that this level of honesty they despise. While Don's feelings were very real and valid, I think it's important to always remain professional and separate your life from your work. Channel those emotions and feelings into the work, but don't let them get in the way of you doing a great job. We all have struggles in our life, and that's what makes us unique. So do your best to use those to your advantage rather than your demise. Number 7, be resilient. Throughout the show, the characters go through many ups and downs. They lose some of their biggest clients, they have to move offices, and they even get bought out by one of their rivals. Despite all that, the partners all show great resilience and creativity. As a designer, whether you're still in school, you work as a freelancer, or at an agency, you're gonna experience many wins and losses. I think the ability to still love the craft and push through despite all these obstacles that can make you feel bad and bring you down is what really makes for a successful creative. The most important trait in my mind for a designer is grit. Not technical ability, mind-blowing creative ideas, or the biggest social media following, but the ability to push through despite the bullshit. The client rejects your idea, good. Now you have an opportunity to come up with a better one. Didn't sell any artwork this month? Good. Now you have more time to get better instead of working on shipping prints. You can't afford the Adobe subscription? That's okay. Master one of the cheaper alternatives like Affinity and separate yourself from other designers. Life is going to throw you some gnarly hands at times, and it's about how you react and persevere. I'm not trying to get all David Goggins inspirational on you guys, but I just want to see all those talented and aspiring designers out there get where they want to be. Number 8, communicate your value. Peggy Olson starts as a secretary and climbs the corporate ladder all the way up to head copywriter just by communicating her needs and showing her value. Not only is she mad talented, but she's not embarrassed to tell Don that she wants to be put on a project or expresses kind of anger when they cut her out of stuff. Closed mouths don't get fed. It's also important to communicate your value and expertise to the client. In the show, the companies come to Don because their advertisements aren't working and he has the solution to their problems.
Pass the Heinz.
As a designer, clients are going to come to you for visual solutions to their problems. And it's up to you to communicate that you're the expert in the situation and not let the power dynamic kind of get twisted the other way around. When I was younger, it was a lot easier for me to get pushed around by clients. And yeah, sometimes you have to be embarrassed and kind of put your foot down and step out of that comfort zone a little bit. But the more you communicate that you know what you're doing, it gives them confidence, it gives you confidence. The entire relationship ends up being a lot better. I know some designers out there who are better than me and create some of the best work I've ever seen. But what I think the really important thing is pairing that talent with good communication and business skills. That's what's going to set you up for success and offer you more longevity and respect in this career. Number 9, know your target audience. Throughout the show, Don wins over the clients by truly speaking to them with not only a creative solution, but how he's going to speak to their target audience. He rarely uses generalized talking points and talks not only about the creative ideas for the campaign, but how he's going to solve their super specific problem and speak to their market.
Jaguar. At last, something beautiful you can truly own.
As a designer, a good design isn't just something that looks pretty, but it's something that communicates to the right type of people. You wouldn't design a minimalist logo for a fun children's company or an experimental typography poster for an investment firm or a bank. Good design helps a company solve the problems of communicating their ideas. And yes, it should be aesthetically pleasing, but don't get lost in the sauce. For example, a good thumbnail design doesn't necessarily translate to the cool modern design our generation loves, but it solves the problem of getting people to notice the video. So in that case, the target audience or the client is the viewer and the YouTube algorithm. All right, last but definitely not least, number 10, work is not the most important thing in your life. Throughout the entire show, Don Draper is a classic workaholic who gets most, if not all of his validation from success at work, alongside a string of a bunch of one-night stands and a drinking problem and all this other kind of chaotic stuff. And it's not until he becomes more of a washed up older partner at the firm and basically goes AWOL to visit California for a while. In his new life in California, I think he has a lot of realizations and starts to realize the truth and like the kind of meaning behind life and how work isn't the most important thing. And to be fair, it doesn't even happen till the last few minutes of the show when he finally feels this peace and contentment. And he still kind of figures a way to spin it into an ad, but there's a start. No level of success as a creative is going to fulfill you if you're not happy as a human. It's so easy to get caught up in the rat race and forget the important things like family, friends, health, and so on. Put in the work in your design career, but make sure to not neglect putting in the work as a human. While Don Draper is a certified madman in the show at times, there's definitely nuggets of wisdom we can learn from him. Thank you for watching, subscribe for more, and I'll see you next time. Peace.